First of all, I would like to ask you, in the US, we are hearing more concerns about censorship and crackdowns across the EU. France required tech workers. The UK are arresting people over social media posts. In Poland, they are trying to silence private media that are against the government. So, from your perspective in Moldova, how real is this trend and how is it playing out in your country?
You know what? It's absolutely real. The EU talks a lot about democratic values, freedom of speech, human rights, but they apply those values very selectively. Um, what we saw it even before Soros-backed politicians took over the Moldova, because what we have right now in our government, it's Soros-backed politicians and governments like France, Germany, probably the UK arrests people for so-called inappropriate social media posts. They block popular candidates from running, and when you point it out, they say, "No, no, this is different. You wouldn't understand." So we see the examples across Europe. In Romania, they literally canceled the presidential election with Georgescu. Everyone was talking about it. Georgescu, a candidate who actually uh, whose establishment didn't like they didn't like the one. And in France, Marine Le Pen has been persecuted simply for defending national interests. In Germany, they have labeled the country's largest opposition party, AfD, as extremists. They say it's about stopping division of or fighting misinformation, but is it really democracy if you're deciding who the acceptable candidates are? Does it really work like this? And the same thing is happening in Moldova. If you criticize the pro-Western government, you're immediately called a Kremlin agent or an extremist. They confiscate your property, they revoke your rights, and they throw you to the jail. And if Maya Sandu starts losing election, don't worry. The results can always be adjusted. And we saw it at the last presidential election, at the referendum and the presidential election afterwards. And no one in the EU says a word. You'd think the right to vote would matter to them, but as long as there are politicians in Chisinau who serve EU interests, they look the other way.
So I want to focus more in your country, Moldova. Moldova is a very small country and it's like split between the east and the west. How is the pressure of the main party that is government that is pro Europe trying to censor, trying to push the conservative voices like you and other or another politicians that are in your country? How is the real pressure focused in your country? If you can give me some examples, will be great.
Well, you said pressure, but honestly, I wouldn't call it pressure. What we're experiencing, it's a full scale repression, and there are many deputies like MPs, and right now the let's call the not the mayor, we call it Bashkan, in Bashkan of the Autonomic Republic Gagauzia, Evgenia Gutul, who is put to jail on the 5th of August. She was sentenced with 7 years in jail for just talking the truth, for just saying what is really happening in our country. They have pushed out of parliament our MPs. They keep passing laws to restrict voting rights for people they label as connected to us just because we oppose EU integration. And what we believe is the destruction of Moldova's independence. And like, we're constantly smeared in the press, both by pro-government media and Western funded outlets. I think it's unfair, it's hurtful, and it's completely baseless. But that's the point. The goal is to isolate us completely, discredit us, so that when Sandu sends police to search our homes, that's what actually happened today, uh, to throw opposition figures in jail, people stay silent because people are afraid right now. It's happening all the time. It's getting worse day by day. Today we don't even know about all the persecutions that happened today, but they gladly announced it in the press that there was 78 home persecutions in our country today, around the country. 78 one morning. Can you imagine? And they go to regular people, they go to people who sympathize our mission, and they're threatening them. They're like writing tickets to them. The amount of tickets is 2,000 euros if you calculate it in euros. 2,000 in the country where pension is about 150 euros. And that's happening all over the country. And what we can say that if we don't fight this, I don't know, devil, who else? But what's happening now is just it's unacceptable, and nobody, well, actually people are starting to see that. People, I'm not talking about Moldovan people are seeing that, and they're living through this. But people abroad from other countries, the press unfortunately doesn't talk much about that, because Moldova is a small country. And but when this started to happen in Romania, which is our border neighbor, that's when the other bigger countries started to pay attention actually about Moldova as well, and US too. And thanks to them, because they're starting to write about it and they're starting to talk about it.
You mentioned what happened of the governor Jovina Gutsul. She is the mother of two, and she was elected by the people of Galicia, if I pronounced it well. And now she, as you said, she's in the sentence that she has is for 7 years of prison for allegedly accepted undercover funds. So, what was your reaction when the sentence was announced? Did you expect that? What can you tell me about this?
Nobody expected that. It was a pure shock for everyone, from ordinary people to political leaders from other parties, even former judges at the European Court of Human Rights. Like, nobody could believe it. As a woman, I really felt it. I could imagine what Evgenia felt at the moment, to be ripped away from your two young children, from your husband for 7 years because of some made up case that Sandu and her pocket judiciary cooked up. It's hard to even process, it's hard to understand. And we expected a guilty verdict, of course. Sandu needed to scare her political opponents, but still, there was hope that maybe there was still something human left in her, some basic sense of decency. But as we see, no, and this regime has crossed all moral lines. What happened to Gutsul actually proves that. During every election, sorry, about 50 to 150 of our local leaders, of my colleagues, they go to jail. But during election is just for the election time. They put people to jail for 1 to 3 months. After election passes, it's over. But because the cases are still going on, they can't prove anything because everything is made up. But over here, what we see, it's a final sentence for 7 years, and this is really shocking.
Well, we should say that it's a warning. Go against the regime, and your life will be destroyed. Is what she said in quote. Do you feel personally, as politician of the position, like threatened or personally at risk at some point about about the government, or how do you feel this? Because you mentioned it that uh, leaders or teammates of your party are being jailed in when the elections came. So, do you feel that repression or pressure that you mentioned about being persecuted?
Sadly, yes, I do think it's true, but I also believe we have a duty, we have a responsibility to keep going. People have trusted us with their hopes and their future, and we can't betray that trust. So yes, of course we're afraid. We all are, but we know who we answer to, and it's not Sandu, and it's not her Western handlers. It's the people of Moldova. It's people who believe in us. It's people who trust us, and it's people who lost their hope in what's happening for the past 5 years with their lives and their country. And that responsibility to them is what keeps us moving forward, even through fear.
And I wanted to ask you because it's quite difficult being, for example, Kutsul in prison, your party is being banned, candidates blocked from ballots, and also what you mentioned about people going to jail just for being in the party opposition. Do you think the Moldova can still have a free and fair elections, or it's just a theater, like they say that they have free elections, but in reality they don't have?
No, let's be honest. Let's be honest. No, these elections aren't free and they aren't fair. Not even close. Sandu has systematically eliminated all real competitors, competition. She banned opposition parties. She blocked candidates she finds inconvenient for her. She filled the election commission with loyalists, and the last presidential election, what happened? Completely rigged, like completely. We have hundreds of documents proving it. Right now, our mission is to expose them, catch them in the act, raise our voices loudly to the entire world about this violation, about this not even violation, violations, because there are dozens and dozens of them. And we need the election observers at every polling station, especially abroad, because that's where they have a lot of possibility to fake what's really happening. And we need to keep protesting, which we are doing actually every single day. They'll try to stop us, and they're trying to stop us, of course, but we'll keep fighting. We have to, because if we don't keep fighting, we'll lose our country. Like now, we're talking about keeping Moldova as a nation. Otherwise, what they're trying to do is to sell everything what has value in Moldova. Not even trying; they're already doing it. They already did it. So selling it to Romania, and we don't want to be a colony of Romania. We want to save our nation.
And I'm interested, how has the treatment of the opposition leaders affect the ordinary people, like the citizens of Moldova? Like, do you see that they are more afraid to talk about things that are against the ruling party, or do you see that these people are more energized, like more brave to talk about it because they had enough of this?
You know what? It's kind of mixed. Of course, many people are afraid, and honestly, who can blame them? Standing up against the regime means risking your job, your freedom, and even your family's safety nowadays. But more and more people are realizing the truth. This upcoming parliamentary elections, they're our last chance. There won't be any other opportunity. If PAS wins again, Moldova is gone. I mean that like literally. Moldova will either be swallowed up to Romania as a province, like I said before, as a colony, or used as a front line in some future geopolitical conflict. We have to save our country, but we can't do it alone. We need everyone to step up. Everyone um, who has who is ready to take a risk, not for us, but for their children and for their future and for their country.
And I was seeing what you have done, and I've seen that you have been building and working to build bridges with the people of the United States, people also from the European Union, uh, who really care about what is happening in Moldova, not just in Moldova, but in all the European countries, about freedom of speech, political persecution. So, what do you want to Americans to understand about what is really happening in Moldova? Because obviously, United States is the biggest country, they, for example, JD Vance has been very vocal about what happened in Romania, for example. Elon Musk was very vocal about AFD. So, what is your message to American people to understand what is happening in Moldova, and what is happening in Moldova can result to other countries?
Well, first of all, we want dialogue, like real conversation, real dialogue with people who respect Moldova's sovereignty and who believe in real democracy. And I believe most Americans and many Europeans do believe in that. The problem is foreign policy in the West is often shaped by a small group of elites who think they can run the whole world. But the world is changing. It's becoming multipolar, and more people are waking up. uh, are like actually waking up. They're more interested in what's going on in the world, not only in their country. And what I want Americans to understand is this: what's happening in Moldova has nothing to do with democracy. The West helped install a dictatorship in our country. They're supporting a regime that jails elected officials and ban opposition parties. I don't know. I'm calling on all of you. If you believe in freedom, in fairness, please speak up. Help us. Like, please help people like Evgenia Gutsul and like Svetlana Popan. That's another colleague who was sentenced for 6 years. And please help them today simply for defending their voters. Like this kind of thing should not happen in Europe, in Africa and United States. Nowhere. We're in the like not in the 21st century, not in nowadays. We don't live 200 years before. Like right now, the the world is much more smarter, and if you talk about democracy, the democracy should be happening. There is like zero democracy in our country. It's honestly, it's like I'm talking right now. There are a lot of emotions, and uh, maybe my message is not like as strong as what I feel inside, but we like we really need to tell the world that Moldova has nothing to do with democracy right now. It's a real dictatorship, like real dictatorship.
With what happened with Good Soul, like it was a clear warning. What is the response? Like, how are you and other people from your party or other leaders planning to move forward after what happened? What is the response?
There for sure will be a response. And in fact, the regime is pushing for it. Like they're provoking us on purpose. They're not even waiting for the elections. Every time they raid someone's house, every time they arrest one of our activists, they're fueling public anger. Like people are they're thinking that people are becoming scared, but people are becoming more and more angry about what's going on, and that anger is growing. It's something they won't be able to control. We're organizing, we're uniting, we're preparing for every scenario, not just for stalling elections, but for the aftermath as well, because this isn't just about votes anymore. It's about, like I said, it's about the soul of the country, is about saving our country. Sandu and her like foreign sponsors will not break down the Moldovan people. Moldovan people are very strong and very united, and no matter how many crackdowns they launch, uh, they will never win.
I would like to do two final questions. One, it's very quite interesting because I always have seen this in not just in Moldova, but in Moldova it's like a plus, but also in Europe and even in the United States, that if some conservative voice talking about some common sense points about migration or demographic or whatever it is, or freedom of speech, he's targeted as pro-Russian. How in Moldova, because there is obviously an influence from Russia, but how it's every single day like calling you or calling other partners of your party, calling pro-Russian. What is the feeling of the population or the normal citizens when they see this label? Because it's like before where now in Europe they call us far right, and now it's not well used, or people are tired of that label, that now they are pro-Russian. So how do you see that label?
There is now nothing wrong about that label. That's how they're trying to picture it. You know, it's not even pro-Russian. They're saying you're pro-Kremlin, pro-Kremlin, not pro-Russian. But let's not forget that probably 60, 70% of our population speaks Russian, and we actually are pro-Russian because we all have Russian ties. There are 500,000 people who from Moldova who live in Russia, and they all have families in Moldova, and they're working in Russia and sending money to their families. So honestly, there is like it's not a label. It's a label for them. For us, it's life. Like I was born during Soviet Union, when Moldova was a part of Soviet Union, and most of our population in Moldova right now, because most of the population is elderly people, like younger people, they go abroad to make some money. So probably like right now, I don't know, 75-80% of the population, they were born during Soviet Union. So we're not pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin or something. We were born during Soviet Union, and we have like close ties to Russia. And honestly, the Moldova's best times were when we were able to buy Russian gas directly from Russia, 10 times less expensive than now, because right now we're buying Russian gas through Europe, but we're paying 10 times more expensive price. When we were able to sell our Moldovan wine to Russia, when we were able to uh, sell our farm products to Russia, that were probably the best times of Moldova, because people were making money. And if that would be an option to do again, everyone will be only happy about that.
So the last question, I guess you obviously know it. 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, there were a conference in Moldova called Mega Make Europe Great Again, and some MIPs and MPs were arrested there and were deported, and even an American citizen, Brian Shaw, was also arrested. Was like 10 hours in the airport. He almost left the country to back to I don't remember if it was Poland or Romania, and then they said through the U.S. embassy that he could go to Moldova. So you were surprised that they are even arresting people, MIPs from the European Parliament, and also American citizens to go to Moldova. For every single person that is not get used to politics or they didn't know about Moldova, they would be very surprised. What was your reaction? Because it's another level. It's not just Moldovan people. It's politicians from other countries or citizens from the United States. So it's like another step.
That's the hugest mistake that they could make. And I can you imagine how stupid they are to do that? And because of that, thanks to them, the world started to pay attention on what's really happening in Moldova. Because when you're not letting an European MP to with a diplomatic passport to enter a country that wants to be in Europe, like what's that? For me, it wasn't a big surprise because I know they're stupid, first of all. Second, that's happening to a lot of people, but Moldovan people. Moldovan people are going through that every time. Like all my colleagues, me personally, every time I have to fly somewhere, I go through 3 hours of searching all my things, looking what kind of cards I have, how much money I have, calling officials, taking pictures of official documents, of passport, and like taking pictures with their personal phones, sending it to somewhere. That's happening every time when arriving to Moldova and when leaving Moldova. But to do that to an MP and to US citizens who come to a conference which is an international conference. Imagine that conference happens in different countries, right? It happened in Brussels like a half a year ago, if I remember, in Hungary, probably, right? Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
In
In
Romania was.
Romania, imagine that would happen in Romania. Like the guests are arriving, the MPs are arriving, the Canadians or Americans are arriving to the country for a very, very interesting and I believe the mega point of view is a very right point of view. So people come and the president says, "Oh no, you're not allowed to enter him. You're not allowed to let him come to the country." Like, what's that? this looks like a cartoon, honestly. Like, I think we were going through a cartoon, because this, I couldn't even imagine that this can happen in real life.
Well, Victoria, thank you so much for your time, for explaining what is really happening in Moldova and put the other part, because we only see the what the real party says. But having the opportunity to interview a politician from Moldova, it's a great pleasure for us. And I hope that American citizens and European citizens will truly understand what is happening in your country.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and I hope that American people, and not only American, that people all over the world will hear the message and will raise their voices as well.